Hey, somebody needs to read a book. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to The Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. The Professional Noticer is sponsored this week by our friends at Tucker ATV. You know, the sheer variety of power sport products at Tucker ATV will blow your mind. The Hustler turf equipment, the entire line of Echo power tools, and of course, Tucker ATV carries every make and model of Polaris ATVs. They got them all. And you just got to see them to believe them. And you need to see the showroom, the taxidermy, the antique displays, and the indoor porch with its porch swing and the comfortable chairs, the television, and the free coffee. So stop in and meet Shannon and Lisa Tucker. They treat customers like family, which is why folks from 14 states have done business with Tucker ATV. Highway 43 North in Jackson, Alabama, Tucker ATV, the small town business with the national reputation. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on the Professional Noticer. And, you know, we've had times when we've had somebody come to the peace table with both observations and answers. But rarely have we had 4 guests at one time that have both. And that's what we have here. If you're familiar with our Life Skills course, the Life Skills Project, and what's going on with that, the first round of that has ended. The second round is about to start. And we thought we would do a couple of weeks of podcast with the Life Skills coaches. And so this week we have 4 of them on. We have Kevin Williams, who did the Heart Mender, Dan Stone, who did the Traveler's Gift, Jamie Futrell, who did the 7 Decisions, and we have a new coach that is doing a whole new course to the Butterfly Effect. Please welcome David Wright, along with the other guys. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, great,
awesome.
Listen, I have been wading through the comments. You know, we sent out a survey after the thing was through, just with everybody, just to see how did everybody feel about everything. What do you suggest we do differently? Do you suggest we do anything? What did you really like? What didn't you particularly like? And we're kind of overwhelmed with the comments. You guys, along with the other 3 who will be our guests next week, with Tammy, Chris, and Kevin Perkins. The comments have been unbelievable. What did you guys see? Dan, tell us, you did the Traveler's Gift. What was your experience at first? I mean, what did you expect, and then what happened?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I knew what to expect, but I will say it was very interesting to have people from across the country who all had one thought in mind. We want to grow. We want our lives to be impacted. But it very quickly became like a little family, a little community of people that kind of fell in love with each other, were become very vulnerable about their life and their story. And we quickly became friends, and we were there to grow together and to encourage each other. And so I don't know what I expected, but what we experienced was absolutely incredible. Life change in this little community, a group of people. Some had read the book before, some hadn't. So it was amazing to watch those relationships develop, the vulnerability of it all. And for each of us, even as a teacher, all of us, to grow through this thing together. It was awesome.
Wow. Jamie, what did you see? You did the 7 Decisions, and was there a moment during that discussion period? You did 8 weeks, and people from all over came in on the Zoom call, and people were discussing and talking. Was there a moment that surprised you, a moment that you weren't expecting that happened?
Absolutely, Andy. One of the things I think was most powerful for me was obviously all of these people had read The Traveler's Gift, all of them but one. We did have one person in the class who had not read The Traveler's Gift, so he went back and read The Traveler's Gift, and then came in to read the Seven Decisions. But the thing that I thought was most powerful and most surprising for me was the fact that there were people that we would get to one of the decisions that they thought, I already know that I got this and down pat,
Right.
I got this. And then as they went through it and then they heard the discussion from other people, they realized, well, I can grow in this one. I've got room for growth. And so it was very exciting to be in the seat, to be able to see the expressions on people's faces. They realized, okay, I don't have this as good as I thought I did. I can grow. And I think that's empowering for all of us when we realize, okay, I've got room for improvement.
Yeah, I've continued to learn so much about those seven decisions that both of you guys, in a way, are doing. Dan with The Traveler's Gift, Jamie with the Seven Decisions. And, I wrote those books literally 20 years ago. And still today, like in a couple of weeks, I'm doing a 7 decisions seminar somewhere. And as I was going over my notes for that, it's amazing to me to see that 90% of what I talk about in those seminars now, I learned after I wrote the books, just deeper dives into that. So I think there's a lot of room there to grow. Kevin, one of the things that we heard that you did for your organization or your group that came together there is that you would open up the call like 30 minutes beforehand. And by the time you started the call, everybody was already just talking and just like having a big,
Dan was right. It becomes a community all, unto itself. And I grew up in a small church in Kentucky, and it reminded me of those times. It was just everybody getting to know each other by literally the second week. We had one gal that was under the weather in there. And then the third week they're going, "You feeling better?" I texted to check up on you. Literally it was that. And I'm grateful for that, because we all know you learn when you're in an environment that is conducive to people liking each other and caring about each other. You learn more and you grow more, and you feel like almost that more is expected of you in that sense. So yeah, it was really cool and exciting. You were talking about The Traveler's Gift and the 7 Decisions. I actually went back and read that book last week and did my little refresher course on that, because what a motivational piece of reading that is. And Andy, I continue to grow from that, as I reread those concepts. Those are valuable to me every day of my life. In The Heart Mender, I think that story is different than any book you've ever written. It's a story of drama and intrigue and love story and murder and everything else, much like the Bible. Yeah. But it's a great story. And all of Andy's books, folks, if you've read some of these books, Andy writes in this context of a sort of a treasure map, and you're finding the treasure within the story. Literally, this book begins with finding some buried treasure, if you want to call it that, in Andy's backyard. It's a true story. And then we go back and we tie in history with that. And the underlying concept is so powerful. And seriously, in the 8 weeks that we were together, people were talking about this going, wow, I never grasped this way. We only had, I think, 4 or 5 that had read the book prior to the class. This was new for everybody.
Really? That's cool.
And absolutely my favorite thing you've ever written. And I look forward to doing this class time and time again.
Yeah. Awesome. David, you are in Ohio today. You're with grandchildren today joining us. And you are new to us, but for those of you who don't know, David is the lead coach of the Zig Ziglar Corporation. and we've kind of stolen him for a little bit here, and he has agreed. We with the first iteration of these courses, we didn't do the butterfly effect, and the reason was I held back on that one. I felt like we had the perfect pairings for the other books, but we didn't have the right coach yet for that. And then when you and I got to talk in Dallas, I thought, this is the guy. This is the guy. We got to have him. And so, David, where are you taking this course?
Wow. I'm just excited, number one, to be a part of this, Andy. Thank you for the opportunity. And where am I taking this course? This book, like I shared with you, has meant so much to me. I believed in these concepts. My granddad was one of the ones who planted that seed in me that your life matters. And he used to pray. He only went through the third grade, and he taught himself to read. So when I would stay with him in the summer, he'd have me read the Bible. He'd sit there and chuckle because here was his grandson already reading the Bible.
Wow.
And at my age then, he didn't know how, but he would pray, and he'd pray over the kids, the grandkids, the great-grandkids. And this is the line that got me. And Lord, the generations to come. And so I that seed was planted in me. So where I want to take this book and this course is to help everybody understand that your life matters. Even the little things you think are insignificant are majorly significant. Just one word, one question can change someone's life. And we all have that opportunity every day.
You've been using the butterfly effect for some time, haven't you, in your coaching?
Yeah, I did. I read it not long after it first came out. I used to do a training class called Your Potential Matters. And so how do we maximize all that God put within us? And so I was always looking for stories or a way to share that thought. And when I read The Butterfly Effect, I thought, my gosh, Andy's done it. All these stories and these principles in this book point to everything that I'm trying to instill in other people and draw out of them. And so, I've been, since about 2012, I've been using for about over 10 years.
Wow.
Been using the stories and the principles I discovered in what you wrote there to as a part of my coaching, a part of my training. I'm very much about pulling out that greater person that lies within each of us and maximizing that potential.
I don't know if you know this. I know you were great friends with Zig and continue to be great friends with the family, but Zig was the one. Zig is in a way responsible for this being a book, because I had put this whole project together as part of something the Air Force had me doing. And so it became a speech, a teaching concept. And I did it one day, and my wife, in fact, it was the first time I'd met Zig, and my wife was sitting on the front row, and every time I would glance at her, she would go, she would like point down to her left, and her eyes were really wide. And it's like it was distracting. So I just quit looking at her. And afterwards I went down and I said, what are you doing? And she said, look who's down there. And it was Zig and Jean, the redhead. And I almost fell over. I thought, thank God I didn't look down and see him down there. I would have probably fainted on stage. But when we met and we talked a little bit, he said, that thing about the butterfly, that should be a book. You need to make that into a book. And that was really the first time I thought about doing that. And so there's a connection between us. But we're really excited about you leading that, and I think that proof to somebody about how much they matter, and the proof of what they can do to create that in somebody else's life is huge. So, Kevin, I was thinking about your class the other day. I was talking with Tammy about it, and I think Tammy saw every one of them. I saw a couple of them, but Tammy was saying that she was amazed at the epiphanies that people were having in there, and that there was such a connection between the people, but there was a connection that they did not expect. Can you reveal some of that?
Totally unexpected for sure. But I had a sense about this, Andy, when we went into it. I'm sitting in great company of great coaches and teachers here. I play the guitar for a living. Okay. So the only apprehension I had was about me, wasn't about the book or the concepts in the book or the people. And so went into this thing kind of wanting to see what was going to happen, but knowing it was going to be great. And one reason I knew is because I'd experienced the power in my own life after reading this book. When it came out, and I don't want to give too much away here because I feel like I'm talking to somebody that's not read the book. And so for you, I want you to take this class and read it week by week with us and grow. But it takes place in the Gulf of Mexico, and I had read this on vacation in the Gulf of Mexico, and I'm thinking, this took place right to my right down here, just a few miles, and so that was poignant to me. And then it has history and intrigue and all that stuff in it. By the time I finished the book, I was making a list of what I should do to empower my own life, to grow and to move forward. There's a concept, several in the book, but especially one that will empower you and free you in a major way. And I think anybody that's read the book will say that same thing. So to see that unfold over 8 weeks in the lives of people that you've already met and a little something about, and you're just wondering how this is going to impact them, and to see this impact them in such a great way. It was goosebump time. It really was. Wow. And Tammy was in there every week, your communications director and a fellow coach. And she had great comments as well. But somebody would just come forth with information about their own life that in a very vulnerable way, because it was a trusted environment. It's just, I think we had 15 in the class, so it's just us. And sometimes they were wanting, what do you think about this? What do you think I should do? And then sometimes it was just something they needed to unfetter, unburden themselves and kind of get out. Well, you don't necessarily expect that in a book group, or a life skills class, whatever we want to call this. But it was a real gathering, and it was powerful. And so the comments that I got at the end of the 8 weeks were the same thing. It was, wow, thanks. Never considered this. I feel like I can move ahead in this area of my life. I feel like I'll be better professionally or personally or spiritually. Right. We had those conversations too. So very interesting to see how it unfolded.
Well, I think it's amazing that we're able to have these small groups where everybody's able to take part in the discussion and pull something from it. Dan, I got a question for you, and I've never asked you this before, but I've got a question, but the follow-up question I think is the most important one. Now, The Traveler's Gift is a story about a family going through a tough time, and the dad gets to travel through time, meeting with 7 historical figures who are also going through a tough time of their own. And so each of these historical figures give this man a different principle that if he puts in his life, things will change. And these people is like King Solomon. He gets to be with King Solomon right when Solomon says, "Bring me the sword, and I'll tell you whose baby this is." He's with Anne Frank in the annex, with Truman while Truman's trying to decide what to do with this weapon that nobody knows he has. And and I know what I thought when I wrote the book. But before you went into facilitating this course and coaching this course, did you have a particular character that was your favorite?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that's an interesting question. I've thought about it a lot because in teaching these and coaching these weeks, I was so pumped about getting to Joshua Chamberlain.
And I got to say, I got to interrupt you here and say,
yeah.
The Traveler's Gift was the first novel that I wrote. And so I guess you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't really know what to expect from readers, but I knew that everybody, that their favorite would be Joshua Chamberlain at Gettysburg. I just knew that. Now, go ahead.
Yeah, no, incredible, right? And I couldn't wait to, anticipating it's only a few chapters into the book. And so I knew it was coming sooner than later. And being a person of action, I just love it. I love the whole setup of the whole thing. However, I will say this. I know this isn't necessarily your question, but it wasn't the most impactful to me this time around. It was extremely impactful. But what I didn't see coming was who you mentioned a moment ago in the annex with Anne Frank. That today I choose to be happy. So it was my favorite for sure. Chamberlain, that was before I taught the group. It was my favorite during, I loved it. But it was most impactful to me was that those moments in the conversations that we had centered around Anne and what she was going through and how it impacted each of our lives. It was by far the most impactful chapter for me.
And that's really, I guess, what I wanted to ask you. If you were surprised at because I have been shocked through the years. I guarantee you the characters have been divided by 7, equally divided in the number how people would come up to me and say, so-and-so is my favorite. That meant the most to me. And so I just wondered if you were surprised or if you even found out what people's favorites were, or if you could tell.
Yeah, I asked at the beginning because I had a favorite. So I just threw it out there. Hey, who's your favorite? And I would absolutely say that everyone already had a bias. We like Kevin's group, we had one person that had never read the book before, so they didn't have a favorite yet. But everybody else had a favorite and could not wait for that time. But before you jumped on, Andy, we were talking kind of behind the scenes, Kevin and I, about this moment. And again, I don't want to give it away for anyone who hasn't read the book, but there's one chapter in specific that I didn't see coming that the group embraced. They may not have said leading into it, it was their favorite. And for some of it, maybe it was, but it was absolutely the most impactful for us as a community. And there were tears and there was laughing and every week, but that week specifically, we were all coaches. And we were all students, moment to moment through that entire class. It was emotional. We could have gone on for hours and we could have gone on multiple weeks in that one chapter. My guess is we all have those moments when reading this book. I want to read just one part of it, just really quick. It may be the most impactful line for me, but definitely was for the group when David is with Anne. It says this: life is a privilege, but to live life to its fullest, well, that's a choice. I felt like that was happening every single week. Each of us, as we were coaching each other and learning from each other, that living life to the fullest started kind of oozing out of all of us and helping each other and encouraging one another. And so, there was definitely favorites. There was most impactful. There was these great moments of transparency and honesty, and the growth in each other's life was incredible.
Wow. When does your next course start, Dan?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me that, Andy. So it's in September. That's what I know for sure. It's happening in September, but you'll have to stay tuned for the dates. I know Tammy knows them, and I should know them. But
well, you can go on andyandrews.com/life skills. Is that right, Matt?
/skills.
Oh, andyandrews.com/skills. And you can see and these are available to sign up for now. And as you know, the classes are limited, and people are already signing up. And so if you want to get a space. And Jamie, listening to what Dan said about how people began to help each other and coach each other, that's something I guess I didn't expect either. But I know that when I hear Dan say that he had a favorite, but then there was a most impactful, you are doing a book. I had a major college football coach call me today and ask me, football coaches don't seem to be up on technology other than what they need to run practice. But he said, "Hey, how do I get the 7 decisions where I can listen to it in my car?" And I had to explain to him about this thing called Audible. And so, but he had read it several times. But I'm always curious about how many times people go through these books and sometimes they don't know why they're reading them again. But occasionally I will hear what I believe is the answer. They'll say, "I'm a different person now than I was when I read it the first time or the second time." There's a major business person that everybody listening to this podcast would recognize this name. And he told me the other day he's read The Noticer more than 12 times. And I'm amazed, but I understand, because you do tend to get more. Was there anything that as you were teaching the 7 decisions that you thought, wow, this is hitting me like I didn't expect?
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to do the 7 decisions was because I learned long ago that the person in the room that learns the most is always the teacher. And so I wanted to do it because I wanted to be the one to take the most away. And I knew that would end up happening that way, Andy. But one of the things that one of the students in our group had already read the book 8 times. And I think that, anybody could go online and Google Andy Andrews, the 7 decisions, and find out what the 7 decisions are. And you may go, "Oh, well, these are simple. I could do this."
Right.
But the reality is that you're really just on the surface of the depth of those 7 decisions. And I love what Jim Rohn said, what's easy to do is easy not to do. And so it may sound easy to apply these 7 decisions, but it's really easy not to apply them. And so the reason that one of the students in the class had been in there and had read through it 8 times was, she said, every time I go through this, I'm getting more out of it. I want to apply the 7 decisions. And so as many times as I read it, and I read it 3 more times to be able to go through this course, as many times as I read it, I don't have all the 7 decisions. And some days, the ones that I thought I mastered, I completely lose track of it. I'm not applying that one today. And so it's really a process of, can you apply the 7 decisions on a daily basis? You may be able to read through them and go, "Oh, that's simple," but the application, that's the challenge.
Right. Well, when does your course start? Assuming that or maybe we could ask Dan to tell us his and yours.
It's September 12th. Mine is September 12th.
Yours is September 12th? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I was looking for you, Dan, but I couldn't get it fast enough. September 1st, and I will be offering the class twice. We'll be offering it in the morning at 8 a.m. Central, so 9 Eastern, whatever all those times are, Pacific and all that stuff. and then 6 o'clock in the evening. So
and it's once a week.
Once a week for 8 weeks, starting
okay.
September 1st. And you've got your choice. Now, you can't go back and forth, but you can choose, do you want to take a morning class or do you want to take it in the evening?
Gotcha. Awesome. David, where do you, I know that you've taught the butterfly effect a lot. Do you find that people are surprised by some aspect? I am always surprised by how many, I've learned to somewhat read audiences, and when I'm on stage and if there's 1,000 people and I say, have you heard of the butterfly effect? I'm always amazed at how many people that I can just tell by the look on their faces and looking in their eyes that they not only do they not know it, they've never heard of it. Have you run across that much?
Yes, and that's, when I started teaching this, Andy, I'll never forget the first time I used it in a workshop. Like all of you guys, I've coached and taught for a long time. And people are great, and I'll get through and get my stuff and go to the back of the room, and they'll come back and talk to me. When I taught the butterfly effect the first time and shared those stories and principles, I didn't get to the back of the room. About half the room came up to the podium and started asking, where did you get this? And wow, is there a book? And can I read, and they just went on and on asking questions because those principles struck a chord in them that had nobody else had struck that chord in them before. And it came down to this. We all want a sense of significance, and we want to know we've made a difference. And that's what this is about. These principles that you put in this book empower us to know that we can go out and make a difference. And a lot of times, here's one of the things I share. I said, you never know who you're in front of. And you never know how just one word, smile, whatever it may be, encouragement, is going to impact them and how they're going to take that and impact the world.
All right. Man.
And,
go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, I heard a story like that this morning, and a group I was having a call with this morning. And I just started chuckling to myself. I thought, there it is again, right there. There's the butterfly effect at work right there. And we have no idea how we're changing the world with our decisions.
I agree. We have no idea. And then when you get an idea, when you understand that if you can do this inadvertently, then certainly now that you know it, you can do it on purpose. And so I'm very honored that you're taking the time to coach this course. And when does yours start, David?
September the 8th.
September the 8th.
September the 8th, 7 p.m. Central Time. So.
All right. And yours is a 6-week course?
6 weeks, yeah.
6 weeks. Okay. And what night of the week are you?
Thursday.
A Thursday night.
Thursday
Okay.
night.
All right. And Kevin, when does yours start?
Dan, do you know when? Yeah, it's September 20th. We're doing this for 8 consecutive Tuesday nights, and it's at 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern. Tuesday nights beginning September 20th. Let me tell you something. Can I have 2 minutes here?
Yep,
Because
yep.
I got something to say. So the hardest thing for me to do is find 8 consecutive anythings in my schedule. Okay. So I'm going to speak to you. If you're busy and you go, I don't know if I can figure it out, get there on 8 consecutive Tuesdays beginning at September 20th, or any of these guys that are doing these classes, because it's going to mean growth. It's going to mean substantial life change. And Andy's not going to sit here and brag on his work, but I will. This thing is meant change for all of us, and change enough to where we want to implement that, be a part of the butterfly effect, and pass that on and create ripples. Okay. So this is a big deal. Now, this book that I'm doing, Heart Mender, It's a great story. If you just want to read the story, and if you like discussing that in a book group situation, that would be enough to warrant signing up for this. But if you're like me and you're reading this thing expecting, well, what's this going to do for me? It's going to do something for me. I know it is, because we always talked about Thomas Kinkade being a painter of light. That was the moniker that was given to Thomas Kinkade, and you'd see these little pockets of light in his art and the way he would create. Andy is the writer of light. I mean, that stuff pops out. The truth, which is light, pops out in everything he writes. So whether you're doing Traveler's Gift or Butterfly Effect, 7 Decisions, whatever, you're going to find truth that's going to matter in your life. And that's what happened to me. When I read this book, and I didn't read it over 8 weeks, I read it over 5 days, 4 or 5 days probably. And absolutely gave me what I needed to get unstuck in my life. Andy, I saw your session with Dominique about getting unstuck. I thought that was cool. And I love that phrase, because I think we've all been there. We've all been at a place in our personal life, professional life, what have you, where we feel like we're in a gear and we just can't get to the next place.
Right.
And reading The Heart Mender and that story and the way it unfolded, and the principle is I was able to apply it in my life, gave me jet energy to propel forward and release baggage and what have you that I had never been able to do. So I would encourage you to look at that seriously. September 20th is our start. But whatever book you sign up for, know that it's going to mean something substantial. Just come into it as an open book and let it unfold. And I know you're going to be quite pleased with that. So that's a little commercial for you, but I wanted to do that.
Well, I wouldn't brag on the books, but I will brag on you guys. And I appreciate so much you taking the time to be with us today. And whoever it is that you end up spending time with, you're going to have a blast. You're going to laugh a lot, might cry a little, but you're going to have a life-changing experience. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Social media strategists for the cast and crew provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional funding provided by CliffNotesLifeSkills.com. Have you participated in one or more of the Andy Andrews Life Skill projects? Has one or more of the life skills coaches made a significant difference in the way you live? Would you like to take your life skills to an even higher level, but just don't have the time? CliffNotesLifeSkills.com was created just for you. Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre, and Pride and Prejudice. All three are packed into a 1-hour course that will change your life. CliffNotesLifeSkills.com has 30-minute courses filled with discussion and deep understanding on Tolstoy's War and Peace, Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and Faulkner's The Sound and the Fury. Join now and receive free of charge a bonus 45-minute discussion of the complete works of Ernest Hemingway, or a 20-minute lecture on the entire collection from Edgar Allan Poe. That's CliffNotesLifeSkills.com, and watch for our Anna Karenina coffee break coming this fall.